Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our wrestling podcast. I'm Chris,
I'm Peck.
and I don't know how are we going to explain this. I guess we're kind of in a conundrum here.
Well, I'm going to use a line from a Cinderella song here, and I'm going to say the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly.
We're going to start off with WWE here. Guys, I don't know if you've been paying attention to WWE. We certainly haven't been, more than casually, with disinterest. But we're right back where we were at this time last year. We're right after Money in the Bank. That was the last pay-per-view. CM Punk is the world champion. He's still fighting John Cena. The only difference is, for some incomprehensible reason, CM Punk is now a heel. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to Chris. Doesn't make sense to anybody.
Yeah, I don't understand what the reasoning is.
I don't really know. I think maybe it might have been an attempt to do a whole face versus face thing, him versus The Rock, but I think the problem is WWE fans are such sheep that if you do anything against The Rock, you lose all support.
Exactly.
I mean, The Rock's not really one of those people, except earlier in his career, that was really polarizing and you loved him or you hated him. Hogan kind of is, because people felt like he couldn't go and would just come in and be there for a certain amount of time, like he was when he main evented those SummerSlams a while ago. But I mean, The Rock, everybody generally gets behind. WWE is just really not going anywhere. I mean, they keep fooling around with Ziggler. He's the Money in the Bank winner. Great, I don't care. I mean, if you were going to make him champion, you had... My God, he was fighting Edge all the way back at the Rumble a couple of months ago, or, a whole year ago. I mean... You had all this time. He's failed so many times to win the belt. Why should I care now?
And doesn't it say something, because I read that this was the highest rated Raw in 10 years, that they just don't listen to the fans, that basically two things happen. They don't let the new stars prevail and get in the fans' good graces, and they also don't listen to the fans to let them choose who they want to pick their favorites, because every time that happens, the wrestlers get burned. If the people like them, they push them for 2 seconds and they get burned. So doesn't that say something that they're just not trying anymore?
Well, as for this being the highest rated Raw, it was only the highest rated, A, because it was the 1000th Raw, B, you had all the old legends coming back.
Exactly.
People weren't tuning in to see Daniel Bryan and AJ.
Exactly.
They never are. The man doesn't sell tickets. The man can't work a lick. As The Rock describes him, a lumberjack that looks like he had sex with an Oompa Loompa. Perfect description. I mean, he's a little less orange, but who cares? I mean, the new stars just aren't carrying the water, with the exception of Cody Rhodes, but the problem is he's a heel, and you bury him on SmackDown, and you have him lose to Christian. That's
the problem. Like, WWE doesn't let the new stars rise, and they don't listen to the people that want to see that happen, so they just lose. And they don't really care. They didn't really keep the fan base from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. They just tried to rebuild it with these kids.
Well, I mean, occasionally they do make new stars, but the problem is they're all over 30.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus was 30 when he came into the company.
Well, see, like, what they'll do is, too, and I've heard numerous wrestlers say this on shoot interviews, that Vince McMahon will start building you up, and then he'll take it away from you. And then he'll build you up a little bit more, and then take it away from you and kind of screw you.
I think it's more Triple H than anything. And
Probably.
I know that people think that we're just saying that because that's the line that a lot of people parent. But if you look at the track record, that's what it's been like.
Yeah.
If there's anything he doesn't like about you, your push is over.
Yeah, because, I mean, look at the past decade almost. You can go with Shelton Benjamin, Matt Hardy, Mr. Kennedy, Jeff Hardy to some extent. Who else would I think that would probably kind of go in? Zack Ryder.
Even though justifiably so, Zack Ryder doesn't have the talent, let's be honest.
CM Punk to an extent.
CM Punk got buried, you're absolutely right.
I mean, so there's a lot of people that, over the years have just, they start pushing, then they pull back and don't do anything with.
You know what I think the biggest difference is? The veterans around today either aren't put in the position to put talent over, or the veterans they have aren't the type that will put talent over. Because if you think about it, pretty much everyone that's ever feuded with John Cena that's younger than John Cena has been buried. Look what happened to The Miz. The first time he feuded with John Cena, he ended up getting dominated on pay-per-view. Absolutely nothing happened after that. Their main event match at WrestleMania was the most forgettable WWE title match I think I've ever seen. And now, great, he's the Intercontinental Champion. Wow, what a wonderful consolation prize. I mean, you don't get anywhere feuding with Christian. You should always be able to be more popular than Christian. He was never good as a face.
No. And it's just, they just never pull the trigger at the right time. They always putz and wait till it's too late. And then it's like, wow, now it's too late.
And a lot of those veterans back in the day were full-time wrestlers that could afford a couple of losses. Now when the fans see Triple H, unless he's losing to The Undertaker, he's winning every single match.
Mm-hmm.
Taker's not coming back till November. SmackDown's going to be floundering in the ratings until then. Kane's good, but he's not as big of a draw.
Yeah, everyone's getting too old, and they kind of didn't realize that, hey, we didn't build up a lot of stars.
And, everyone on the internet talks about Seth Rollins, Tyler Black, Dean Ambrose. I don't know who the hell any of these people are. I don't watch FCW. I don't care about indie wrestling.
No.
I'll go to indie wrestling events. I'll have fun with that. But am I really going to watch the WWE and the minor leagues and expect that these people actually know how to wrestle? I mean, look who's teaching them.
You know what's going to happen, and this is what I worry about. The WWE is just going to take over everything. I've heard they wanted to put their WWE in every country and have their own show in each thing. And God, pretty soon they'll have their own indie leagues where it's all WWE. It's gonna get to be too much. It's already turning into too much. There's just too much WWE.
And I can't stand the fusion with social media. I think Twitter is the stupidest thing out there to begin with.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to throw it up on the screen during a wrestler's entrance. It ruins some of the characters. Like, do I really think, put it this way, if Randy Orton's supposed to be a serious heel, the last thing I want to see is a hashtag and a Twitter thing. Like, you're going around punting people in the head. You don't need to be tweeting about it.
Well, WWE's exposing the business too much, and they're kind of destroying the business at the same time. I think this company eventually will implode one day, where it just turns into this gigantic mess.
I don't, because there's enough kids and everybody that don't care about real wrestling matches or the amount of moves that they do.
Yeah.
And are settled, that will settle for finishers every 3 seconds. And, oh, hey, the match went over 10 minutes. I'm going to put it on the best of the, 2012 DVD just because it went over 15 minutes, even though it was a shitty match.
I hate Santino Marella. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I don't, but I think he could be viable as a serious wrestler, but they don't let him.
Well, it's another guy. It's either pull the trigger or don't, and it's just...
But what does it say about your U.S. title if a comedic act has held it this long?
Doesn't mean anything, yeah. I mean, none of the titles do anymore. Is there any tag teams anymore? I mean, is there any managers anymore?
Yeah, Abraham Washington, and I have no idea who he's managing. I mean, I know they're Titus O'Neil and some other big guy. I don't know. I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you. That Kofi Kingston guy, he's teaming up. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Back to something. You want to talk about TNA?
Well, real quick, just to finish up the WWE thing. I mean, it is an entertainment company. When Vince McMahon said he wanted to divorce himself from the word wrestling, that's exactly what they've done. The product it hasn't been good consistently. Every now and then you do get a good match because, even every now and then a blind squirrel finds a nut. With talent, sometimes good things happen, but I don't know. I don't see a reason to stay committed to the company. Nothing has piqued my interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to pull out all the stops to get ratings and get interest again, but too late,
And the people that they bring back, other than The Rock, who's been a huge success and his matches have been good, Brock Lesnar,
no,
he just doesn't fit.
He's not a company guy. He's not a team player. He's just he wants...
He's a dickhead. He's better off in the UFC.
Yeah.
I liked him better there.
Yeah, he's not a team player.
Yeah, he's not fan-friendly. I mean, he just doesn't fit in.
Mm-mm.
Although, I'll tell you what, what's funny? I never would have thought that I would take Batista seriously. You remember when he was in a neck brace and he was in the wheelchair and he quit on live TV?
Oh, yeah.
And he did that whole promo about, you'll all be so bored, you'll never watch the show ever again? He was right.
He really was. We should have listened.
And I didn't watch it after that.
See?
And the other thing is, Chris Jericho promised to save us. The sad thing is he actually has to do it now. And losing to Dolph Ziggler isn't going to help.
No.
So, enough about WWE. Let's get to another company where we're really not sure where they're going. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling.
Yeah.
Has anything changed?
Well, I mean, you have varying opinions on this, but, Destination X, Austin Aries won the World Championship from Robert Roode. And the rest of the pay-per-view, who really cares about it, except that match?
My biggest problem with Destination X was it was all predicated on the main event. From what I've heard, was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if you look at the pay-per-view last year, how stacked the card was, why couldn't they do that this year? Why didn't they at least try? I mean, I know you have all these different wrestlers involved in the Bound for Glory series, but the problem with that is you have 12 to 14 guys that are only allowed to wrestle each other for 5 months. That's not helping anyone.
It really makes the product stale.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, this whole Aces and Eights angle, we'll get to that in a little bit. Chris, you want to talk about how you feel about Austin Aries being your world champion?
Yeah, I don't mind him being a champion, but not right now. This is a bad time because it hurts everybody. It hurts Robert Roode's whole run as a champion. He should have been the champion until Bound for Glory. It hurts Austin Aries because he'll probably be like a paper champion where he's only a champion for a month or two, then he drops the belt. And plus, he doesn't really fit into the Robert Roode, James Storm angle that they're going to go with, I think. So I really don't understand why they did it. I would understand after Bound for Glory, like 2 or 3 months later, that'd be fine. But not during the whole streak. I didn't like the way they did that. I'm like, why did they do this? I don't understand.
I still don't get it entirely, but I can't say that I'm necessarily against it, honestly, because I've seen Austin Aries' ring work. Now, the only thing that I have of concern is he's really only had very brief, I can't even really call them feuds because they've only been about 2 or 3 matches, programs with Bully Ray, who's a wonderful wrestler, and he fought Crimson. Other than that, I can't imagine. I haven't really seen him match up against any true heavyweights. He does it well. I mean, he's over. He's a great wrestler, but I don't know if they pulled the trigger too fast. But, I mean, it is a change. The fans seem to really enjoy him as a champion. I mean, he has the cockiness. He has the attitude. I mean, God knows he has the championship pedigree. He was ROH World Champion. As we've seen, people that hold that belt, say what you will about ROH being poor production quality and whatnot, but they're pretty good about who they pick as a champion.
Mm-hmm. They know talent.
So I like it. I think it's a good scenario, bad timing. But here's the thing. I'm not necessarily sure with how unpredictable TNA can be at sometimes that they are lining up Bobby Roode and James Storm to fight each other. I know that's the logical thing for them to do, but they go off reservation a lot. And I think it'd be a mistake because of how long you've been building this up, but they change their mind on a whim sometime. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know either. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Hopefully it'll be for the best and for the fans' best interest. But you were talking about the Bound for Glory series, and we kind of talked about this before we started the show. Do you think it's a good idea to spread it over a couple months, or would it be better just to have the whole round robin on the pay-per-view and have round robin matches in like a tournament style every year, or just have a tournament every year?
I think you can start it a month before and have it be exactly like King of the Ring, the old King of the Ring, not the one that ended on Monday Night Raw with William Regal was King of the Ring. Not that William Regal's not a great wrestler.
It was just cheap.
But I digress. Yeah, if you build up and have qualifying matches to get into it instead of just automatically being thrown into it.
Yeah, how do they determine this? I mean, there's no real. They had a ranking system that lasted about 2 weeks, and that was it. So I don't know if they just go by who's in the the hunt for the title or who how many matches they won. I don't know.
It's so restrictive because it ties up all these people for months. I mean, I'd say do it about a month, maybe 2 months ahead of time to get all the qualifying things out of the way. Narrow it down to 8, then have a tournament of 8 on We Surrender. I mean, No Surrender. That's just what we've come to call that pay-per-view because it's generally just so bad.
There's no need for it at all.
I mean, there is, but there really isn't.
That's another thing I talked about. If TNA could cut their pay-per-views down to about 7 or 8, I think that'd be enough.
The other problem with the Bound for Glory series is they pretty much never wrestle each other twice or that often. So you don't really get a chance for any rivalries to develop until after the BFG series is done. And the biggest problem with that is, are we really going to remember that, Kurt Angle fought Rob Van Dam at a house show in Dayton, Ohio on Friday, tonight? No. We're not going to remember that whenever they start feuding because, they're running out of people to feud with, and I'd really like to see that personally.
I think they're on to something, but I just, like you said, do it on a pay-per-view, or it's too long, and it's just like, who cares?
No, we were talking about this whole Aces and Eights thing. Some of you are probably going, what in the hell are they talking about? They're a group that's been interfering. The first one after Sting, They attacked Bobby Roode. They attacked Austin Aries. They attacked Kurt Angle. They attacked a tryout wrestler named Sam Shaw, who I really can't make up my mind whether he's going to be good or bad.
I'll pass.
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
But, it just makes me wonder. It's like, this would make more sense if they were trying to get into the Bound for Glory series or something like that instead of just, starting at the top. I mean, I don't mind Hulk Hogan being off TV for months at all. I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, most people probably are.
But, I don't know. It's just... I swear to God, if they make Eric Bischoff the leader, because I just realized he wasn't on TV this week. If he's the leader of Mates, I'm never watching.
Eddie Munster's the leader of the pack.
I'm never watching TNA again.
Well, it's going to be neat to see how this plays out. Basically, this is everybody from OVW and Rinka King.
And talented people that used to be in WWE that we haven't seen enough of, like Luke Gallows, Chris Masters, people of that ilk that, have a purpose.
Yep. I mean, these are the sort of signed guys, but they're not, but they are, so...
The other problem is they, a lot of times they completely forget about angles that they were just doing. Like, I don't remember seeing Joseph Park, a.k.a. Abyss, on the show at all, and last week he was just doing his whole, like, turning into Abyss thing again. I don't know. It's like, TNA, do you forget about who you have on your roster, or what's going on?
And that what's interesting too, that British guy, Mark something, he wrestled at Destination X last year.
Yeah.
Hasn't been on TV, I think, since the British tour, and I think he wrestled once.
Speaking of
Mark Hastings or Haystack.
Speaking of British people that are never on TV, Doug Williams actually wrestled. He beat Sam Shaw.
Oh, good.
On Impact last night. So it was good to see him, get out there. It was a really sloppy match, I'll be honest with you.
Of course. And it wasn't Williams' fault, most likely.
No, hell no.
Well, he was on Destination.
I could have a good match with Doug Williams, and I had no formal training.
I read about him. He seems like a really nice guy. He said, hey, everybody has to kind of rotate their positions because, there's not enough TV time for everybody. But he's been doing house shows. He was on Destination X pay-per-view.
He does Explosion.
Destination X.
He gives the fans a good 15, 25-minute match.
So putting him back. That's a guy I think they underestimate. I think he should be in the BFG series,
I do too, over Robbie E. I mean, Robbie E is nothing. I mean, I know you said he had talent, but with the current gimmick he has...
Well, he's going to have to break away from it soon.
It's really hurting him, honestly, because I can't view him as a serious competitor. Or Zema Ion, for that matter. He's not in the Bound for Glory series. He's the X Division champion for absolutely no reason.
Bad move on their point, but... we want to just get this out of the way before we complain. Chavo Guerrero showed up. It's okay.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, and for Chavo Guerrero, that's okay is about the best we can expect out of him.
Yeah, I'm not looking for too much more.
Is it sad that the most over I ever was with Chavo Guerrero, I was so excited when he was Curran White? I gave him a standing ovation when he came out on the golf cart. I thought that was genius. He had the beach blonde hair. He was pretending to be the, like the golf club player. He had that ridiculously sappy music. I loved it. It was so funny.
That wasn't Kenny Dystra, his...
Kenny Dexter was his caddy.
Caddy, that's awesome. How long did that last? Like, not even a month, huh?
No, because then Eddie died.
Yes, that kind of...
Sadly enough.
I remember watching Kerwin White in the Battle Royal get thrown out. It was just funny.
But, I mean, now they're doing a thing where it's him and Hernandez.
Yeah.
Apparently Hernandez is only allowed to either team up with Matt Morgan or they have to be Hispanic.
Yeah, he's kind of limited. And that's the guy they kind of sort of buried.
I mean, all the talk of, hey, we're going to use Hernandez as a singles competitor. Apparently not, because he's in another tag team.
Well, they screwed that up. Here's what happened. Remember, like, when 2010, when everything was pretty much going good, I thought, Yeah, they brought in some old has-beens or whatever people say, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But Hernandez was feuding with Morgan, and then he went to Puerto Rico or AAA for, like, 4 or 5 months, and he vanished and then came back. That was bad. They should have kept him around, had him beat Morgan clean, and kind of build him up, because he was in that prime. He still is, but he's kind of, like, back to LAX again.
Unfortunately, the best part of the whole Chavo Guerrero program is the feud that's going to result from it. Not necessarily even the feud. I really like the tag team of Kid Cash and Gunner.
Yeah.
Because Gunner has shown flashes of absolute brilliance, except for getting buried by, Garrett Bischoff because of Eric, his father. But I really like Gunner's in-ring work, and I think Kid Cash is a really good veteran. He's had championship experience. He can teach him the ropes. He can, they both have the same similar commentating style. They're both very abrasive, very mean. They're both tattooed. They're both street fighters.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a really good team moving forward. I just wish they didn't look like homeless rednecks that just came off the dock and started fighting you. I mean, put a shirt on or,
Well, I kind of like look at them and I know they're like the guys that can get the job done, like a Bobby Eaton and Arn Anderson tag team. Like, this is like the new version of that, sort of. I mean, it's just a tough bad guy tag team that can do what they got to do.
Right, because I mean they don't need a manager, they don't need any of that.
No.
They're just straight up ass kickers. Like I always thought Kid Cash should have been the one to beat Austin Aries, I'll be honest with you, but they were never gonna have Austin Aries lose that whole X Division title ever.
They never push Cash enough, I think. I think he's so underestimated.
I do too. I like
Underrated.
him in WWE. You know, I was actually there when he won the light heavyweight title back when they still had him. I said he's a really good wrestler. I remember him from TNA. He changed up his look. He's great.
Yeah, he's a winner, and I think he'll be worth it down the line.
And you know, which is good because I mean, Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. When's the last time they defended those belts?
It's a good question.
I mean, they won them back from Angle and
Back in June,
but
but
they haven't.
There's been no title defense.
No, there haven't. Well, you know what the problem is? They're mixed up in the Bound for Glory series.
Exactly. That you know, what do you do?
So what, is no one gonna? Are they not gonna defend the tag team titles for 4 months until Bound for Glory? What's going on here?
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
There should be someone that just strips them of the titles, and they have like a 4-way dance or something for the belts.
Someone needs to look at TNA scripts and be like, "Well, you missed this, you forgot about that. Where the hell is Abyss? What are you doing? RVD, please be sober. Stop it."
I know, it's like God. Well, I guess we might as well talk about this. Kenny King jumping ship from Ring of Honor. Good, bad, in between. What do you think? I think good. I was impressed.
I got to be honest. I had to Google Kenny King just to see who the hell he was, and I was like, I was so mixed up between him, Caprice Coleman, Cedric Alexander, Sean Alexander, the former running back from the Seattle Seahawks, Julius Jones, Felix Jones, Marion Barber. I didn't know who Kenny King was to save my life. I thought he was Kenny Dykstra at one point. And then I'm like, oh, that guy.
Well, see, isn't that the problem with Ring of Honor, though? No TV time, no publicity, not a lot of media.
I mean, I didn't even know the Briscoes lost the tag team titles to Benjamin and Haas, and then I didn't know they lost to...
Yeah, I had no idea.
Kenny King and the other guy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I like about ROH is the stable Kevin Steen has. He's the only reason that I'll occasionally watch it. And they have a really young wrestler in Ring of Honor named Matt Taven, who you need to watch out for. He's really good. We said the same thing. He wrestled Michael Elgin, and we said, wow, this kid has potential. We don't like Michael Elgin, but we like him.
I liked him, yeah. He was good.
As far as Kenny King jumping ship, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad for the business. The thing is, as TNA fans, we kind of embrace it because he has talent.
Yeah, it's great.
But here's the thing. We're kind of hypocritical because we know if WWE did the same thing to TNA, we would be crying foul and we'd be really mad about it.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it's starting to say something that, wrestling organizations are starting to count again. Like you're starting to get that ECW, WCW feel, and with WWF, like who's going to jump ship, who's going to go where. So you're starting to get that vibe again.
You are and you aren't. I mean, it's just surprising that an acting champion would do that. You almost
That's
never
big.
see that. One half of the tag champs. That's a hell of a hole in the storyline.
That is. He just walked, left. It was a verbal agreement, and then he just
Here's
said...
the question, though. Do you think Jim Cornette's mismanagement of ROH has anything to do with that? And I know all the indie, fans will bitch and be like, well, didn't you watch Ladder War 4? No, I didn't. You know why? Because it's an internet pay-per-view, and I'm not going to sit there and watch a 17-inch monitor screen. I have better things to do. I mean, a lot of these people languish on the indies for 10 years. You know why? Because they're not any good, Daniel Bryan.
You know what, too? It's like, I mean, the internet pay-per-view is worth it because it's cheap, but it's like, get on TV. Get on the regular pay-per-view.
And if you're going to get on TV... buy some goddamn lights.
I know.
I can't watch my Pittsburgh TV. I'm like, are they wrestling during a power outage every single week? I can't see.
Like, it looks so much better on HD net with the ring and the entranceway and all that. It looks so much better. But now looking at it, it's like, what the heck? And this is another problem with Ring of Honor, though. They don't know what... They don't take that next leap. They just play it safe. Which is smart business, I guess, but they're always going to get their talent rated.
They get by on their internet pay-per-view sales, and you can only do that for so long. I mean, don't get me wrong, they survived a lot. They lost a lot of former, world champions. I mean, they lost Aries to TNA, they lost Punk, and I don't even really count Daniel Bryan as a loss, but they lost him to WWE. They're doing what they can. It's just Jim Cornette's so restrictive, and it's like a lot of the same storylines that didn't work in TNA, he's reusing again.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just showing you I don't know. I don't know if the quality of wrestling's still there. I think it is, but I don't like the TV shows because you don't
Their
get them.
interview
Yeah,
segments are terrible. Like, very few people in that company can talk. Honestly, though, I think Mike Bennett, you're going to see be one of the next people to jump to WWE
yeah,
because he already has Maria Kanellis as a manager. He has the look, and he's really not doing a whole lot. They don't have him in the TV title picture. They're worried about Michael Elgin fighting Roderick Strong. Well, I can't wait to turn in for that one.
yeah. I'll
He's not
push
in the
fast
he's
forward.
not in the world title picture because Kevin Steen's too busy destroying the American Puppy or whatever the hell his name is. Daniel Bryan with talent. Davey Richards, that's it.
I like
Utterly
him.
forgettable name. I like him, but he's so stale.
Yeah,
He's so vanilla. It's not mixed martial arts. It's pro wrestling. Quit pretending it's a gym.
yeah. I don't like that when they're like pretend martial artists or they have like a little bit of martial arts. And they think like they're these great experts of it. Ernest Miller would probably come in there in 10 seconds and clean his clock. I mean,
Glacier had a better sidekick.
oh my god, yeah.
And
But
Davey Richards, my biggest problem is he stole Tajiri's head kick as a finisher.
and you know what's interesting too, like with Kenny King jumping ship. I think when I watched his match, I was very impressed. He's come a long way because he wasn't TNA in back in '06. I mean, he's definitely come a long way. He's a great wrestler. He really impressed me with his match. But I think the best thing for him to do is get him out of the cruiserweight division and put him towards the middle, like where Robbie and all those kind of guys are, because I think, will be worth it in the end. He will be a viable champion one day.
What, you mean Wrestling Purgatory? That's where Robbie E
No.
and Robbie T
Like-
are. They're not doing anything.
I mean,
They're
like-
in Hell's antechamber and they can't get out.
Like not the main event, but like in the middle, whatever, the mid card guy right now, and then build him up towards the main event because he's a guy that can go. He's a good size.
His
He's just perfect.
place is already being held there by Elijah Burke or the Pope or whatever the hell his name is.
They should have made it more of a major storyline too. They could have attacked ROH and have him on the mic and stuff. Make it worth the while. Make him jumping ship.
Well, I started
Something
laughing
special.
I started laughing on Impact because Sting was all worried about aces and eights, and he was supposed to give a speech to the X Division guys, and he sent Austin Aries like, you used to be the champ. You pick who's going to fight Zema Ion tonight. He had 3 people in the room. Dakota Darso, who looks like he's a heavyweight wrestler masquerading as an X Division wrestler.
Yeah, it's bad.
Sanjay Dutt, and Kenny King. 3 people. And he was like, well, I'm going to pick out of you 3 who's going to fight for the X Division title. I'm going through the TNA roster in my mind. I'm like, this is it? Don't you guys have more X Division wrestlers?
Nobody left.
Can't Doug Williams, he was an X Division champion. Bring him out. He'll have a better match than any of these people.
It's like they do and they don't. But the thing too, like
I'd
with
rather see Curry Man.
yeah. Well, I mean, with the X Division stuff, like, Kenny King could be the face of it if they let it happen, but they probably won't. But he's a viable guy, and I think he'll prove he's worth this
I
contract
think the
signing.
other problem is you have 3 really good X Division wrestlers all involved in the Claire Lynch storyline.
Yeah, so
Which I don't even care about.
it's stupid. It's a gigantic waste of time. But just one more thing to wrap up the Kenny King situation. Don't you think that this is saying that TNA is a more viable company? It's showing you that everyone's kind of getting on the levels again, where like someone's going to jump here because it's worth it, or someone's going to jump here because it's worth it. So everyone, the organizations are starting to become competitive again with each other in contract signings and things.
I wish I could say that, but the only thing is with TNA, when you're being sponsored by an auto insurance company, when a wrestler that's no longer with you and very publicly said he wasn't happy with what you paid him, Matt Morgan is still in your commercials.
Yeah, they got to stop doing that.
When, you only are able to draw like 300 to 600 fans, when you need to put Sting on a card just to get people to go to live shows. I understand the economy's bad, and wrestling attendance is dropping all the way across the board, so maybe it's not just that. It just kind of feels like beating up on the little guy.
It does.
And TNA, it seems like they went from being victim to bully.
Mm. Well, they both started at the same time, Ring of Honor and TNA. So, they both started out too, but you can see which one kind of took the leap of faith and which one didn't.
Here's the thing, though. Yeah, they lost Kenny King. Do you think ROH brought in better wrestlers than Kenny King leaving?
Oh,
Because if you think about it, ROH brought in Lance Storm, Finlay, Rhino.
yeah.
I would take any of those guys individually over Kenny King any day of the week. Kenny King is a 25-year-old. He could be a flash in the pan. No one knows.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a proven veteran that you can slot into any weight division he could be a monster heel, he could be a brawler, any of those guys you can actually do something with. Their name, their drawing power.
I'm kind of confused though. Still, like, is Sanjay Dutt with TNA now, or is he still Ring of Honor,
No,
or is he in between? I don't
well,
know. I don't know. I really don't. I guess it's a talent exchange,
From
maybe.
what I heard, from my understanding is that TNA talent is allowed to do live shows as long as there's not a production involved. For example, TNA talents would not be allowed to appear on a pay-per-view for ROH, but I believe they would be allowed to wrestle at a live show. Now, I don't know if they could do like the weekly television show. I don't think they're allowed to do that either.
Yeah, I don't think so. You know, it'd be great going to this Aces and Eights. Wouldn't it be great if it was Desmond Wolfe as the leader of the whole thing?
It's funny that you mentioned that because they talked about him taking time off the last time that I had watched. ROH, and they were saying he was on vacation. And I wish there was some way for him to get healthy again and wrestle because he's
Or just a leader. It'd be amazing. It would be amazing. But
he
he'd
had
have to wrestle.
he had the potential to go down as one of the all-time great
Oh
wrestlers.
my God.
I know his first feud was with Kurt Angle, and I know Kurt Angle was able to make a lot of people look good. But there's a certain point where you're a fan for long enough where you can tell it's not all one-sided and that the other guy's actually really contributing something to the match. And that's how I felt about Desmond Wolfe.
It was
I loved
amazing.
the name.
Oh
I
my
loved
God.
the character. He was so over.
Everything.
He just wasn't used right in the bookings.
Well, it was great because as soon as he came, I was afraid, oh no, they're going to have this stupid match against Curryman or Shark Boy to debut. No, right after Kurt Angle, they saw him as a main event status guy, and he beat Kurt Angle
with that awesome clothesline. But then he became a submission wrestler, and then he had a couple other moves. He was just really good. That'd be cool. I don't know if he necessarily fits in with the whole militant aspect of Aces and Eights, like the
Not too
camo or
much.
anything like that. But then again, neither is the supposed leader, Jeff Jarrett.
Exactly. So, but the thing with Desmond Wolfe was, it was great timing because he came right as the main event, but then Hogan and all them came, and it kind of derailed him a little bit, but they still kept him in the main events, and they tried as much as they could with, I think, the guy.
They never let him beat Abyss cleanly, and
No.
they put him in a bunch of squash matches against Abyss, and that's when it started going downhill.
But until then, he was involved, and then he joined Fortune, then he wasn't, and then he got sick, but then they started doing the London Brawling thing with him, which was great.
Right.
And then he reunited. It was supposed to reunite on the Impact with all the British guys in one big group, but then
British Invasion.
Yeah,
I didn't like World Elite though. Whenever they had
that was a mess.
That was awful with Eric Young as a leader.
Big terrorist group. What a mess. But Desmond Wolfe, got hurt and sick or whatever, so that kind of all fizzed out. But it would be great if he was the leader. Oh, would that be impressive? It'd just be fun to see and oh my goodness, what are they going to do with this? But it won't be. It'll be Jarrett, of course.
I'm just happy that it's going to feed the Ring Kicking guys into the promotion. We're actually going to get to see them on TV.
Which we figured. It was just sooner or later they're all going to show up anyway. Everyone needs a paycheck. Everyone wants to wrestle, so. But see, TNA's got to start to get bigger, though. They need more of a roster than 35 guys. I think 50 is a good size, 60. You need to mix it up. But then it gets to be almost too much sometimes. But, that's where you need to have the explosion show start to come on, where you get more. Because it's not on where we live locally. I haven't seen it on since 2004.
I will say that the I love the quality of Thursday Night Impact now that they went live. It's been such a world of difference. The crowds are actually hot.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that was a big problem for them. Crowds weren't into it half the time.
I'm still not into this whole TNA gut check thing. I think it's completely stupid. I don't see.
It's stupid.
I see them as getting contracts, and I'm thinking to myself, you better only be making $40,000 a year because you're really a waste of a contract.
All they're doing is just bringing in OVW guys, so it's really nothing. Yeah, what they should do is bring champions from other places and have them wrestle and make it worth it, like a Colt Cabana, or someone from New Japan. Make this not fake. Even though wrestling is pretend in a way, don't make it more real.
Who in the world had the idea, watched American Idol and said, wow, this would make sense in a wrestling thing? No, it doesn't. You have people that evaluate talent. Why the hell do you need two other people helping you make a decision on whether to hire somebody based on their in-ring work?
I know. And we still haven't seen Alex Silva because he has visa problems.
Thank God. I don't ever want to see Alex Silva again. Apparently, the rumor is that Ric Flair did that just to screw them over because he was on his way out.
That's not being a team player. That's just immature and unprofessional. And I think they should take his cite that his autobiography and his whole roster page down with all the other people that they released instead of keeping them up. It's kind
Really,
of
what did he
stupid.
contribute? A forgettable feud with AJ Styles, a couple of pinfall losses
Jay
with Jay
Lethal match,
Lethal.
yeah. I mean,
Never
nothing
won a
special.
title, was never part of a tag team. Could have been a good manager. They never used him right. He
No.
would have been great managing Desmond Wolfe. Didn't happen. Screw Ric Flair.
Yeah, there's no need for him. Um, well, I mean, aces and eights, we'll see. I just pray to God they don't do the Jeff Jarrett thing again. It's because it's such an easy way out. It's like bring someone new in or someone you wouldn't expect, or bring someone back you haven't seen in years. Make them a viable threat to Hulk Hogan. It'd be great if it was the Warrior. They won't do that though.
You know what else? This is just a personal nitpicking thing. I know they're called aces and eights. What happened to jacks, queens, kings, hearts, clubs, diamonds, ones, twos, threes,
Spades,
fours,
yeah.
fives, six, sevens, nines? I feel like they're really left out.
And that's not fair.
It's not fair to Flair.
No. Well, there's also this rumor, and it's weird, of an NWO return. Both sides, Kevin
To be honest,
Nash,
whenever I
and
heard
Bischoff.
about it, I was just like, I really hope this doesn't happen because I don't care.
Well, how and where? I mean, there's two different guys from two different companies saying that the NWO is going to return. So is Kevin Nash with TNA now, or is Bischoff wouldn't go to
Kevin Nash's big
WWE?
idea that he splashed all over. I hate the fact that I have to report anything that Twitter says, but he was talking about, oh, let's be there to protect CM Punk. Wow. So Triple H has buried CM Punk so far underground that he needs 4 washed-up 50-year-olds from the NWO to dig his carcass back up.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like X-Pac and Kevin Nash and
You're
Gold
not-
Dust.
it makes no sense. If you predicate your gimmick on calling yourself the best in the world, you don't join a stable.
I know. I don't get it.
Unless you call yourself, like when Rated RKO formed, I'm like, wow, you guys should just call yourself Overkill because you're going to destroy everyone.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't get it. I mean, if they show up to TNA, then it's not the NWO. It's just be some other stupid group, Main Event Mafia or whatever. And
It just makes me sad that WWE, they hold on to people that we think they're going to fire. And TNA really misses out because I thought they were going to get rid of Mysterio. I was praying they would get rid of Orton and that both of them would go to TNA, but it didn't happen. Instead, we'll get stuck with Alex Riley's a useless ass.
yeah, it's a mess. I don't know.
Remember him? I mean, he's just terrible.
I feel kind of bad for him. And
Wrestling fans.
yeah, besides them, but I think once he comes back, I think he could have a good feud with somebody. It's Chris Sabin. He got hurt again. Rue was getting in his face. I think when they could build up a nice little feud with those two guys because Sabin can go.
Oh, I think so. Like whenever Rude's trying to get into the title picture, whenever he gets a rematch later after he loses it, have Sabin cost him the belt and then have him do like a really good program.
Yeah.
Here's a question: do you think Bobby Roode would be able to wrestle an X Division style?
I could see it. I mean, he did the X Cup for Team Canada
I
way
was just
back in
thinking
the
about
day.
that. Like, I'm wondering. I'm like, maybe he has the athleticism to try that. I think it'd be a nice thing, to kind of keep him away from the title picture for a while because it's going to get crowded.
Yeah, I don't know.
He can't stay in
What they're
this
gonna do.
long. Like put it this way: when he loses it for the second time, because we know he's going to win it back pretty soon.
Yeah,
When he loses it for the second time, he's going to really have to, earn his stripes in some feuds that are, like a blood feud with James Storm without the belt, or fighting Abyss, something like that, just to kind of keep him out of the title picture but stay busy and stay relevant.
yeah. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to, I hope it's James Storm for a while because he deserves it, and it would be a gigantic waste of time if he didn't win the belt. But
TNA is prone to doing that, though. I mean, who's
Yeah.
from hell? I mean, we could end up with Magnus versus Austin Aries. I mean, who knows?
I like Magnus though. He's another guy. Like he's another guy that can take you to the next level if you let him.
The predictable thing is, though, they're going to feud him and Joe, which will be good,
Yeah, I won't mind.
but it's too predictable. I would rather see Magnus feud with somebody like Van Dam, beat Van Dam a couple of times, or have him feud with like Christopher Daniels or something. Well, no, they already did that as a tag team. I don't know.
Make Kazarian or somebody.
But I mean, now it's kind of good because WWE, they had their 1000th Raw, great. SummerSlam is just going to be recycled rematches. So, that won't be as big of a deal. Basically, WWE is pretty much telling us we don't care about anything until the Royal Rumble and The Rock goes for the WWE title.
Yeah. And he's like a part-time wrestler.
Yeah, and they're basically setting up Cena and The Rock at Mania. Or maybe they're just going to wrestle with the Rumble, but I don't care. Whatever happened to once in a lifetime?
Mm-hmm.
And then it became as often as makes money.
Yeah. There's money to be made. Trust me. Once in a lifetime doesn't count.
Yeah, but I mean, like, WWE didn't used to do that. Yeah, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker technically had 2 matches the first go-around, but the first was, just to set up Hell in a Cell. They didn't fight. Well, they did fight at the Royal Rumble. I forgot about that. But, it wasn't like 4 or 5 straight pay-per-views. It didn't need to be.
Well, I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see how WrestleMania plays out. But, I mean, it's going to be the WrestleMania of the part-time wrestlers because, if they're all Lesnar, The Rock, and Undertaker, and whoever else they bring in, they're all just part-time guys.
WWE apparently has this new thing called Tout, which lets all the marks go on and vote for what matches that are so predictable that they want to see.
That's lame.
I mean, I'd be looking for the options. I'm like, where's E? Where's Please Die, Ring Explode? I don't want to watch this.
It's bad, and it's probably only going to get worse from here.
Yeah, it really is, because, they waste. The Big Show's been involved in more main event programs this month, and I don't even care.
I'm beyond tired of him. I was tired of him in 2002. And it's 2012 and he's still around, so his time has come and gone. He's in good shape and stuff, but I don't want to see him anymore. I don't.
He serves a purpose, but his matches are absolutely terrible. But that's perfect for WWE because they don't care about quality wrestling.
It doesn't matter.
Don't.
It's just going to get worse.
They don't have a Kurt Angle. They don't have...
No, they don't have that backbone.
Not that we condone what Chris Benoit did. They don't have a Chris Benoit type wrestler. They don't have really anybody all that unique in my mind anymore. No. The Undertaker with a mohawk I can't take seriously at all. It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen in wrestling.
Well, and you'll never know if these people have talent because they don't let them break out. They control them too much.
In WWE, there is a whole
strict
class known as toilet cleaners. Jack Swagger, Christian, they don't even give him the plunger. They just use his hair.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler for a while. I'm trying to think who else. The Miz for a bit. Alex Riley. Drew McIntyre. All these people are not doing anything.
Did he go down the tubes? Drew McIntyre. That was a push.
Maybe he's the clog they're trying to get out. I don't know.
Well, I think Vince McMahon thought he was going to do well and he bombed, so he buried him. I don't know. But that's another guy. And it's like Kenny Dystra. All these guys, they never push.
And
or they'll push and they'll stop it.
I knew as soon as they made Triple H CEO, I laughed. I said, you know what? This is going to be terrible. Because all of your ideas have sucked.
Yeah.
You've proven that you're way too trigger happy. You'll pull the trigger on something too quick that's actually going well, and you'll ruin it. You'll try to junk it up by making it better, and it doesn't happen. McMahon, yeah, he might have had a lot of bad ideas. But when people actually sat him down, the wrestlers themselves, they used to come up with gold. Yeah. Now that it's Triple H running it, I don't like it. They fly by the seat of their pants. They change things 3 times on live Raws. It's stupid.
It is. Well, I think this was a good show.
Yep.
And well, I thank everybody for joining us. We will continue since this is one of the most popular shows on our YouTube channel. We will try to get as many of these shows as we can for you viewers. So I'm Chris.
I'm Peck.
Have a great night.
Thank you.